Hey guys, what's up? Today I wanted to do something a little bit different. I'm gonna be doing a top 10 video. If you happen to like my overall diversity and consistency in my uploads, hit that like button in advance. It would really help me out. Thank you very much. Be sure to also hit that bell icon so you know whenever I'll be uploading. Very important. And without further ado, let's get into this video. Many of you know that I'm a very diverse person and I like a lot of genres in anime. So there's never my favorite anime or my favorite type of anime, because the journey in anime is like a giant mood swing, honestly. So with that being said, I think one of my favorite genres might be thriller. But today we're going to be talking about my favorite comedy. Because once in a while, when you've seen a lot of stuff with a lot of heavy story, you tend to want to get back to a show that doesn't fill your brain too much with too much information. Sometimes you just want to shut your brain off and just watch something, enjoy it, and laugh without having to pay attention too deeply. So with that being said, here is my top 10 if you are looking for a comedy show and you want to have a good laugh with friends or maybe alone, then I got you. Number 10, Sakamoto Desu. Sakamoto Desu is about a first year that entered a new high school who happened to be very mysterious and very perfect in everyone's eyes. He starts off being very weird, but people already like him because he's kind of handsome. But you know, when someone catches people's eyes, a lot of negativity comes with that. So a lot of people dislike Sakamoto in the beginning, like the delinquents in the school or the bullies in the school, or certain people just don't really like him that much because they see how popular he is and they see him as a threat in a way. It's a pretty episodic show. Every episode has a new story, but what makes it fun in my opinion is the way they handle it. Every episode has about 3 sketches with different characters and a different kind of story, all revolving around the main cast or the characters in the school. The main thing interesting or funny about this show is how he is so perfect and mysterious. It makes for a lot of weird scenarios because a lot of people, because they don't know him, tend to really don't like him all too much or not understand him all too much, and then he does something so gentle or so amazing for those people that he ends up gaining a lot of fans and a lot of friends in the school, despite him being such a gentleman and being so nice to people. In my opinion, he's honestly just really weird. But I do really like the show. It's very, very funny, and I highly recommend it if you're into a lot of stupid comedy. It's all very, very silly, and you can also just watch it without paying too much attention to the episode. So, hey, why not? Which brings me to my number 9, which is Nichijou. If you by now have not seen Nichijou in your time of watching anime, and you've been watching anime for a long time, definitely go watch it. Nichijou is a comedy show from 2011 that very much knows what it's doing. It very much emphasizes on the comedy to make it more visual. Imagine being told a very, very simple, stupid joke, but the delivery being very, very extra. That's basically Nichijou. Nichijou is basically a show about 2 girls going to high school or middle school, just their everyday life, honestly, and it's just a town with a lot of people just going about their lives, but certain stuff just happens sometimes and the animation just goes wild. If you're familiar with One Punch Man season 1 and you've seen that, definitely watch this, because it's not One Punch Man, but the way they handle their comedy is quite similar. They will tell you a joke or a certain sketch will happen in the episode, and then for some reason the budget goes all the way crazy and you got this crisp ass looking animation for a very simple stupid joke. But because the joke was that simple and the animation went all top notch, that's what made it funny. I guess that's how I view it. Nichijou is one of those shows that doesn't really have a main story, so it's very difficult for me to explain what it's really about. I just highly recommend you watching episode 1 and 2, or just at least, watch episode 1 and 2. And if you by then don't like the show, you probably won't like the show. The thing with Nichijou, the reason why it's at number 9 and not like anywhere higher in ranking, the reason for that is that I feel like when I watched it, I was binging it, and I felt like it was getting repetitive. Even though the comedy is very funny and all over the place and it gets you a good laugh, I don't think this is one of the shows that I recommend you to marathon all the way through. For me at least, that didn't really work. I had to watch a couple of episodes and then I really needed something that stimulated my brain again, because it was very, I don't know, brain numbing in a way. But it's definitely a funny one, and it likes to poke fun at a lot of anime tropes in a funny way. So definitely go watch that. Number 8, I might be butchering this name, but Bokuto Test to shoukanju. Bokuto Test is a very, very funny show, in my opinion, about a high school where they take tests or exams in that school. There's a kind of hierarchy in the school where they, based on your grades, decide in what class you're gonna be. So you have A class all the way to F class, I think. F class is where they have all the ghetto ass shit, like the tables are rusty, the school supplies are very crappy and cheap, and A class gets all the high quality stuff. It's like they focus all the education and all the money and all the investments of the school in the higher classes, and all the lower classes get like nothing, which is a very common trope in anime. I don't know if they do that in Japan in real life. I really hope they don't. Yeah, Baka Test basically shows how the F class is trying to rise above and face all the student superiors to them in the school so they can get an upgrade and kind of climb the hierarchy and climb the ladder. Why is it funny to see a couple of teenagers do their exams? What I find funny about Bokuto Test is that the way they showcase how someone takes their exams is basically showing a physical representation of their personality in like this little chibi-ass character of themselves, and they then have a physical fight. They actually fight and battle in a weird anime way to their opponents. It's so funny. I don't know. It's just a weird way how they showed that. And there's just a lot of inside jokes in the anime that just really crack you up. I don't want to go in too much detail, by the way. I just want to kind of give an idea of what the show's about. It's a very, very funny show. Really like it. I believe it had 2 seasons, so definitely go check that. Number 7, Prison School is a show, pretty risky show. An all-girls school turned into a public school, allowing guys now. You have these 4 guys, they go to that school, go crazy over the amount of nice girls in that school. Among those all, there's one guy that actually wasn't that bad. He was a very normal guy, and he just happened to walk into a girl that he kind of started liking. That girl seemed to like him as well, and they were starting to develop a kind of nice friendship or a relationship, I don't know. But since they were all still kind of pervy, one of them came up with the idea to go spy on the girls as they were taking a bath. And they ended up getting found out. They got punished by being sent to prison. Prison in their school. The student council basically takes them there and makes their life horrible because they can't really have school anymore in normal school grounds. They now have school in this prison where they are treated like slaves. There's innuendos everywhere, but it's really funny. If it's not really for you, really don't watch it. You might not want to watch it with people around because it's just really crazy. I believe it's censored, but there's a lot of crazy stuff happening in the show, so definitely watch at own risk. Which brings me to my number 6, Saiki kusuo no Sainan. Basically, Saiki is a show about an esper that has a lot of crazy superpowers, and he's basically able to do anything and everything he wants. But his powers are way too strong for him and for all the people around him, so he has to wear these antennas to prevent him from going berserk with his power, because he needs to control it. He just goes to school and he wants to have a normal life and enjoy life eating pudding and eating chocolate. That's kind of all he likes. He happens to also be liked by a lot of people in a way that they always want to invade his privacy or always want to invade his life. So as he's trying to go to school and have a normal life and not interact with people, he automatically kind of gets a lot of friends and he automatically gets people to want to be more with him, which really is a frustrating cycle for him. But he is a kind-hearted guy and he always kind of helps people out in a way. What makes this show funny is the set of characters it has. It's a very, very quick, fast-paced anime, by the way. So I do want to leave a little bit of warning. If you have no knowledge about the Japanese language, it might be a little hard to catch every joke. There's a lot of jokes that I feel are very, very Japan. I don't know how to explain it, but if, like me and my friends, the reason why we laugh so hard about this show or at this show is because we have an understanding for the Japanese language. So we understand the double laying layers in these jokes sometimes. And as someone that has no idea, I feel like it might fly over your head very easily. So that's all I want to say, but definitely give it a shot. Try it out. The characters are very, very funny. This anime has a lot of sketches per episode as well. It has like 3-4 sketches per episode. Very, very funny stuff, very crazy characters. The cast is very, very great. There's not a lot to say about this show. It's just very random and it's very character driven. So I feel like there's no real overall overarching plot, which makes it a little bit difficult for me to explain. I'm sorry, I'm horrible at explaining these, but I just want to show you these. Just bring them on your radar. And if you are interested in watching them, you can watch them and we can talk about these shows. If you have seen them, comment them down below. The show has, by the way, 2 or 3, I think 3 seasons, by the way. It's on Netflix as well. So if you want to watch it, just marathon it on Netflix. They combined a couple of episodes and made it a longer running thing. So definitely go marathon it on Netflix. You should be through 1 season in like the blink of an eye. So, but yeah. Which brings me to my number 5. And everything from this point on is probably one of my favorite things. Obviously, I want you to watch all 10 of these. But if you really had to pick one in these 5. My top 5 of comedy anime right now. This is where it's at. So number 5 is a very, very recent show called Kaguya-sama Love is War. Love is War is genius. So basically, Kaguya-sama Love is War is about a prestigious high school where the student council happens to exist out of 4 characters, with 2 being in love with each other. They really, really like each other, but they don't want to tell each other because they feel like telling one another or confessing their love is like losing to the other person. So the show introduces us to a very, very intelligent girl called Shinomiya Kaguya. And Kaguya is basically the vice president in the school. She's a genius and never really had to work that hard for everything she has or everything she's able to do. And she's very, very popular. And basically she's just perfect. Now we have the student council president who is called Shirogane Miyuki. So Miyuki, he is not someone that had everything going for him. He actually doesn't have that much money. He doesn't have that much wealth. He isn't that perfect. He isn't that intelligent, but he worked his way up there to still be at that spot. So because he worked so hard, he actually topped Kaguya and became student council president. This caused for them to kind of be in a kind of battle all the time to one-up each other a little bit. Now here comes the premise of the story. They both kind of have a crush on each other, but they are very petty people and they just want to win and they don't want to lose to one another. So what they do is basically try to get the other person to confess. So Miyuki tries to get Kaguya to confess and Kaguya tries to get Miyuki to confess. So they go back and forth doing that. This turns into Death Note or like some psychological shit just in order to get each other to confess. And it's just so hilarious to see. It's a very funny show and I highly recommend you watching it because I had a blast watching this show. It's amazing. It really is. Which brings me to my next one, which is Grande Blue, number 4. I did not expect the show to be what it actually is. It's basically a diving anime. I thought it was gonna be a sport anime. Every sports anime has this sport anime formula to it. This show really doesn't. This show is comedy first, sports second. Very amazing stuff. Basically, it's about a guy, I forgot his name, sorry. Basically, it's about a guy going back to his family's place over the vacation, over the summer break, to go and learn diving from them and also attend a new school. He goes to live with his cousin, but he hasn't been around them anymore for like a decade. So last time he saw them, they were very small. Now they're all grown up. He decided to go work at the shop that they own, but the moment he arrived, he came to find out that the people they hang out with are all a bunch of crazy people. Very addicted to partying in a way that he did not expect. These people have no shame. They don't wear any clothing outside or inside. It doesn't matter. They are responsible people, but at the same time they drink from day to night and night to day. What this show does best is just facial expressions. It's just so funny. These characters become so ugly in certain moments and it's just hilarious to me. I just love seeing that stuff. In terms of the story, it doesn't really have that much going for it. But it's fine because you know it's about diving and you know it's about them trying to dive but at the same time not getting to it because college is basically this. Imagine you going to another country to go study abroad, but instead of focusing on actually going for education, you end up with all the crazy party college students. That's basically what this show is. If you don't like it after 3 episodes, you might as well skip it because it's basically what the show is going to continue doing. Of course, there's going to be more to it, but I feel like if you don't like the first 3 episodes, you might not like the entire show. So, It's just an idea. Which brings us to number 3. Really important. Number 3, Hinamatsuri. Hinamatsuri is basically a show about a guy from the mafia. He was just sitting at home and a capsule fell out of the sky, or like out of midair, in his living room with a face popping out of a girl. It didn't say anything, it didn't do anything, it was just laying there, and he just decided to ignore it. He was like, if I ignore it, my life can continue. So he did. But the next morning, he saw that it was still there, and he started to kind of freak out and be like, okay, what the hell is this thing? So he pushed the button, and what came out was this girl, an Esper sent to Earth with very ill intent. But as she was there, she started to actually get a pretty nice life. She basically became a freeloader in Nita's house, whether or not he liked it. Because he was scared that she was gonna do something to him, he just kind of went with it. But along the way, they started to kind of grow a bond or grow a relationship, and it kind of felt like he was her new dad in a way. It felt like he had adopted a daughter, which was very interesting. Hina's a very, very weird character. She has very little emotion, or at least she shows very little emotion. I would say this show more so has a story than it does not. So definitely go for this show. It's very well written, very well drawn. Comedy is great, the art and animation are great. Everything is just very easy to understand as well, which is very nice. You can turn off your brain, but at the same time I feel like this is not as brain numbing as, for example, Nichijou or some of the other examples. I feel like this is definitely a show that does what it needs to do best. High recommendation, guys. Hinamatsuri was one of the shows I marathoned like last year, and it was so worth it. So please do it. My number 2 goes to Hondakun. So the plot of Hondakun is basically a very anxious and social anxiety type of character called Handa, being put in a scenario where he is the center of attention every single day. Being the son of a famous calligrapher, people watch him constantly because he's a very popular guy. Not only because his father, but also because he's very talented at what he does. But his popularity actually got to a place where people started to distance themselves from him. Not because they did not want contact with him, they very much adored him. But because they think of him that highly, they kind of started separating themselves from him in a way. All the time that these characters like him a lot, he thinks that everyone hates him and does everything with ill intent. When someone stares at him too long, he thinks that they don't like him or hate him. When someone wants to give him a love letter, he thinks that people are trying to mock him and put him down. So it's kind of miscommunication, the anime. And it's done so well, it's done so crazily. This is definitely a show where I cried while laughing because it was so stupid. Everything happening was so stupid. I highly recommend Hondakun. The comedy is great. The characters are very great. One thing I do need to mention, people did tell me that another anime called Barakamon is basically part 1 of this anime. So basically there's a two-parter in which there's a time skip. This anime is about Hondakun in high school, but Barakamon apparently is about him being an adult. It kind of got me confused. I thought that Barakamon might be the sequel to this show, but in reality I think Barakamon came first and then Hondakun came. So it's up to you what you watch first, honestly. Now, my favorite comedy show up until now, Konosuba. Konosuba is basically an isekai. If you do not know what an isekai is basically a genre in which a character gets taken out of his own normal, regular human world and put into a fantasy world. It's about this guy Kazuma who, in the beginning of the anime, is a NEET, like many others. I remember him being on his way home or something like that, and he sees a girl that is in danger, almost getting hit by a truck. He acted on impulse and basically ran to save her and ended up dying. He woke up in the afterlife getting to choose what he wanted to do from there. But as he arrived, they told him that no, he did not in fact really save the girl. The girl was never in danger to begin with. Also, it was not a truck, it was just a random car, just a normal car. She was fine, he died for nothing. Also, he didn't die because he was hit by the car, but he basically died because he had a heart attack. So, starting that way, you already get a feel of, oh, the show really doesn't take it that seriously. And it very much is true. The show from the start already shows you funny characters, funny interactions, funny ways to talk about things. I could go on and on about this anime being amazing, but I don't want to spoil what it's about or what happens in the show. Take my word for it, go watch it, go watch episode 1. I think that episode 1 does a very good job capturing everything it needs to get you into the show and get you invested. So with that being said, go watch episode 1 of Konosuba right now. It has 2 seasons. You are welcome. With that being said, this was my top 10. This might have been a very long video. I'm very sorry about that. If your favorite anime show or your favorite comedy show did not make it in this list, comment it down below because I might have seen it and I might actually like it too. But definitely give me your top 10 in the comments below. I'm pretty curious what you guys have to say. And if you don't know 10 anime, like if you don't know 10 comedy anime, be sure to drop 5. I don't really mind. It's fine. I'm just very curious what you guys have to say about said shows. If you have seen it, if you've not seen it, if you're gonna watch it, I want to know. So with that being said, thank you very much. I hope you guys like this. More videos coming up. Till next video.